We all want our game to be in the best shape, but after playing it hundreds of times, you're bound to get used to errors that may be hurting your game feel. So let's use this opportunity to take a step back and look at a fundamental part of your game, the camera. This is the first thing that a new player will see when starting a new game. So it's very important to get it right. And Unreal Engine's new gameplay camera system makes switching between completely different camera styles super easy. This will let you test different types of cameras without having to rewrite your camera system from scratch. Let's take a look at how modular it actually is and how it can affect your game's feel. First, let's make sure that we're actually using it. Let's also make sure that we're using the third-person template. We want to have something to test immediately, so this will help us a lot. Then, to be able to have three types of camera, we need a camera asset that we can use to change between them. So here, we will select the camera asset, and we're gonna select the blueprint camera director so we can change it with blueprints. If we only had one camera, then the single camera director is the one that you want. This camera asset will be used by a gameplay camera actor or a gameplay camera component. This is the modular design that will lead us to simpler creation of complex camera behaviors. Inside the camera asset, we will find the camera director evaluator class. When we create it, we will be able to click it here. Also, we will find the camera rigs, which are actually the cameras and how they are working inside of our game. So if we have a top-down camera, that will be a camera rig. If we have a third-person camera, that will also be a camera rig. Also, we can find the shared transitions if we click on here. Let's hop back to the director and let's create a camera director evaluator class. Let's just click on add a new blueprint and let's just give it a name. Inside of our camera director evaluator, we will be able to choose which camera we want to use. To choose which camera, we need to create the camera rigs. Here, you won't be able to find a button to do that because right now there isn't a single camera rig that is being used. So if we try to build this camera asset, it's going to give me a warning that the camera director isn't using any camera rigs or any camera rig proxies. So let's fix that. We will create three types of camera: a first-person camera, a third-person camera, and a top-down camera. Let's open the first-person camera and let's set up the behavior. Here, we're gonna use the toolbox to add what we need. So you can either drag and drop it or right click and search for it. We do need a sequence. I also need a boom arm. And let's set this boom offset to 50, 0, 50. This is working just like a spring arm in blueprints. Now let's modify the field of view and let's set it to 100. And that will be it for my first-person camera rig. Let's open the third-person camera rig and we're gonna do something very similar. We got the sequence, we got the boom arm. In this case, we're gonna change it to -500, 0, and 50. And to actually control it with the input of our game, let's go here to the input slot and let's choose the input axis binding to D. In the axis action, let's choose the input action look. Not only that one, but probably you will also want to here add another input action and choose the one that says mouse look. This is because of how this template has been created, because the look one uses the gamepad and the mouse look uses the mouse to look around. Next, let's go to clamp Y Let's check on the min and max clamp. And in minimum value, let's use -80. And in the maximum value, let's just use 10. Also, here, if we scroll down a bit, we will be able to choose the revert y-axis. So let's click on it. The last thing that we will add is add a way to change the actual boom offset. So we can actually control if we want our camera a little bit near or a little bit more far. So here, we'll just make it a parameter. In this camera rig, let's also add a little bit of change to our field of view, which for now, let's just leave it in the same value. You could probably convert it to a parameter if you like. Let's also add a dampen node, dampen position. And in the forward dampening factor, let's just type 5. Lastly, instead of making our boom arm collide and shrink, we're gonna change the material of whatever it's being collided with to, and let's call it occlusion material. So here, let's type occlusion material. And let's create a super simple material that we're gonna put here. To do that, let's go back to our gameplay cameras. Let's just create a material. Let's call it M camera occlusion. And let's do these changes. The first one is going here to the blend mode and choosing translucent. Let's also add a base color. Let's convert it to a parameter. Let's call it color. Connect it. Change the value to white. In the opacity, let's just, let's add a constant, which will be converting to a parameter, which will be called opacity. And the default value will be 0.2. And that will be our little camera occlusion material. Let's save it. And let's use it here. There we have it. Finally, let's just jump to our top-down camera and let's add the nodes that we need. It will be very similar, like sequence, another boom arm. This boom arm will be a little bit different. This one, -1000. And we can leave 0 and 0 here. Let's add the field of view. And a dampen position. The value of the forward dampening factor will be 5. And let's also add our occlusion material. This one is the same one that we created just a few seconds ago. So there we have it. Now we have the camera asset that will hold all our camera rigs that we will be selecting using the camera director evaluator. Now, before continuing, I do want to add some transitions. Each camera rig can have their own transitions, if we just click here on transitions, or we can also create share transitions for all of our cameras. I want to let you know that this system is very powerful, so let me just do the same thing in all transitions, and later on you can play around on how you want to use those transitions. Right, so I will add a pin for the exit transitions, and here, let me just drag and drop a blend pin. And I think I got ahead of myself. I do need to click on here, camera rig transition. And now we do have the blend pin. And let's choose a smooth blend. Just like that. We can tweak the values here if you want. What I'm gonna do is just create the same transition for all my camera rigs that I have. And almost finished. Great. Now each camera has its own exit transition, and as you can see, we can actually make it a lot different. For now, I'm just gonna use the same one. With our camera rigs done, we do need to tell the camera director which camera to use. So before doing the code here, which is very simple, don't worry, what I do want to do is add the camera to my character. So let's search for our character, should be in the third person blueprints, third person character. And this is how you would normally construct a third person camera, with a camera boom and a follow camera. In my case, I'm just going to delete both of them. I'm going to go to components. I'm going to search for gameplay camera. Here it is. And in the gameplay camera details panel, let me just select the camera asset. Let me make sure also that we are activating this camera for this character. So auto activate. And just to make sure, I'm gonna click on player 0. Now to test it very quickly, what I'm gonna do is go to the event graph, and I'm going to add some keys that I can press. So let me just add a debug key for the number 1, a debug key for number 2, and as you guessed it, I also need one for number 3. We're gonna drive the different types of cameras by using an integer. So let me just create a variable. Let me call it active camera rig. This is an integer, and we're gonna set it every time we press this button. This is just a simple setup to change our cameras. So if you are trying to change any type of camera, this is not the only way that you can do it. This is just a fast, quick and dirty way. So let's save and compile. Now let's go to the camera director evaluator and actually use our cameras. The first thing we need to do is to find the evaluation context owner actor. Here we can just choose our blueprint third person character, just so we have direct access to, you guessed it, the active camera rig variable. Again, this is just a quick example. We can make this a lot more modular if we were not just typecasting so harshly here. Now we just need to do a simple switch, add the pins for 0, 1, and 2, connect this, and here at 0, let's activate camera rig, and let's choose our third person camera rig. Now that we are doing this, if we save and compile and go back to the camera actor, well, excuse me, the camera asset, this camera asset will build fine because it does have a camera director evaluator. It does have, well, this is the asset, the camera director evaluator, and it does have at least one rig. Let's go back to the camera director evaluator, and we can just copy and paste this way. And this will be my top down. There we have it. To test it, let's just open the third person template map. Here, we will just press play and see what's happening. First, my third person camera movement is a little bit slow. Let's change our view. This is our first person camera, which I think it's working pretty well. And our top down, it's not actually top down. So let's fix it little by little. Let's open our third person camera. And in this camera rig, we can change how the input axis works. And let's just multiply it by 100 on both sides. Save and build. And now if we press play, we have this normal movement. Also, it is working, our clamp. We cannot go past the floor. But what I'm noticing is that my character gets super weird, super hard to control. Let me just check if the occlusion is working. Yeah, the occlusion material, it's actually working. Yeah, that's good. And to solve the control issue from our from our camera rig third person, let's hop to the third person character blueprint. Let's click on our gameplay camera. Let's go to details and let's click on this property, which it says set control rotation when view target. So we are using the camera, this camera asset, which has 3 different types of camera rigs. It is actually using it as the control rotation for this character. So whenever we're moving around, we're actually moving towards what my camera is seeing. Now to fix the top-down issue, we just need to go here in the camera director evaluator, and here where we are activating our camera rig, here we can actually set the control rotation of our character. So we can get a pin from there, set control, get controller, because this is our character. Get controller, set control rotation, and here let's just split it, and in pitch let's just use minus 90 is too much, minus 50. Save and compile, and let's test it. We have our normal camera, and now we have our top-down camera. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now you may ask me, hey, what about those settings, those parameters that we had here? For example, the boom offset. And if you created more parameters, that's great. How can we change this? Okay, let's do it. We do need an input from our third person character. So let's just use a debug key, mouse wheel up and mouse wheel down, just so we can increase or decrease the the length of our boom arm. Great. Then we do need two variables. One will be the boom length, and the other one, which should be a floating point, should be boom zoom step, which is the value that we will be adding to the boom length. Right, so the zoom step, it should be 25. Let's compile. And now when we click on zoom step, let's change it to 25. And the boom length should be, I believe we put minus 500. Great. Now it's just a matter of changing the boom length. So we're setting up the boom length, which will be the boom length. When we're going up, we're going to add the zoom step. We're gonna clamp it because there always needs to be a maximum value. So clamp float. And here, let's just put minus 1,000. I'll just copy and paste this here. And we want to subtract. And these values, it's fine. It's the same. We can either clamp it, or here we can do a minimum and then a minimum or a maximum. It's fine. However you want to do it, it's fine. Here I did forgot to put the maximum at 0. Great, so we have this working in our character. You already know how to go to the camera director and get any type of information from this camera, from this character class. But we can do it the other way around. We can get the gameplay camera. We can get initial, and the name escaped me, but here you just need to get, and you have two options. Get shared camera data if you want to set up the parameter in all the cameras, well, all the camera rigs that are being used, or get conditional camera data, and I'll show you how this looks like. And the get conditional camera data, which will actually just get of a subset of camera rigs evaluated in a certain context. Right now, the only condition that it exists is the active camera rig. So we want this. We only want to modify the one that we are using. So we don't need this one. Here, we can now get, if we type boom, we can set the boom offset. Just like that. And this boom offset, well, if we remember correctly, it's just the X pin. So let's split it. And we can connect the boom length to the X pin. We're gonna do the same thing for the mouse wheel down. And yeah, it's the same code. You could probably just connect it like this and it will work fine. And unless you want to keep adding stuff here, then you can just leave it like this. So let's test it. If we press play, we have our camera. If we use our mouse wheel, we will have our boom arm length changed. And the buttons 1, 2, and 3 will still work. And you can see the transitions are pretty smoothly done. So how about it? Will you be using this new gameplay camera system? Or will you just play it safe for now? Because this is still an experimental, but I think there's a lot of potential here. Let us know in the comments. And if you want to learn from us, check the links in the description below. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.